All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Urban Conservative Podcast. It's a Monday night. We got Representative Ken Fontenot in the building. Urban Conservative Podcast starts right around now.
NASCAR. Do you like a tribe called Quest? Well, you gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Do you like manwich and nachos? Well, then you'd love the Urban Conservative.
Do you like guns? Do you like butter? Well, you're gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Yo, what's good, son? You like pit bulls, say? You like solving Sudoku puzzles? Then you gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Hey, buddy, if your car making a sound like this, you might want to get you some power steering fluid and check out the Urban Conservative Podcast.
Are you repulsed by the idea of drag queen story time at your local library, but enjoy Carol Baskin TikTok memes? Then you would enjoy the Urban Conservative.
Doesn't mean you have to vote Democrat. This year, in order to see benefits for our communities, we need to vote outside the box. Find out more by visiting us at tuconservative.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what it is. It's Monday night. You tapped into the Urban Conservative Podcast. Joined by my brother from the same mother, no other, Duali. I'm Raheem Architect Soto. We are the TUC twins. We appreciate you guys for tapping in with us as usual. Around this time, we ask you guys to go to the website. tuconservative.com is the website.
Bang.
Does it sound better for you, bro?
Yeah, you sound all full bodied now.
All right, there you go. I had to turn down. I was doing some vocals earlier, but make sure to head over to the website. tuconservative.com is the website where you can support what we do here at the Urban Conservative.
Yep.
Which is spread conservative policy ideas to our urban centers, voter education, informing the people about what's really going on, how the sausage is made in this political game, and why you should be involved, why you should want to be involved in politics, because
Right.
you don't do politics, politics will do you. So exciting show today.
So before we jump in, right? We were just at a Trump Force 47 training, and one of the ladies asked me, they was like, so what's the rebuttal to when people say they don't do politics? I said, well, what you got to tell them is it's not a matter of politics. It's a matter of that gas station. It's a matter of that supermarket. It's a matter of that house note. That's what it's a matter of.
It's a matter of when you call the ambulance, when you call the fire department. That's those things. You want to send your kid to school, all of those things. But yeah, man.
Exciting show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We have got an alumnus. Is alumnus the right word? Alumni?
I don't know. I think he just made one up. Yeah, alumnus.
We've got
a
friend of the show, a dear friend of ours, somebody we highly respect. Just honored to have back on the show, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all, please welcome back to the Urban Conservative our good friend, Representative Ken Fontenot, back again. Sir, how are you?
I'm living the dream, brother. Thank you for having me back.
Ah, yeah, man.
I gotta say, Representative Fontenot, I'm still slacking. I don't have my sound effects machine. I say, yeah, I gotta get that thing going. I keep saying I'm gonna order it, and I've yet to do it.
Well,
No worries.
so let's just start here. For the folks that don't know you, we always get new viewers. Tell the folks who you are, where you represent in the legislature. Kind of give them the 1-2s real quick, so then we can jump in from there.
Absolutely. So my name is Representative Ken Fontenot. I work in the North Carolina House of Representatives. I am the representative for District 24, which is Wilson County and Sharpsburg in Nash County. And prior to this, United States Marine Corps for a little over 8 years. I was also a public school teacher for about 4 to 5 years. And that's probably the span of my career so far.
So one of the things we're honored to have you down here in Charlotte, and you talked about why you got into politics. You laid out a couple of reasons, right? And for the folks, I think it would be helpful as we go into this discussion for you to lay those reasons out again, because some folks might find that they have those reasons and don't know it. But would you mind laying that out for the folks?
Absolutely. So I always say there are three things that pulled me into politics. Reason number one occurred when I was a senior in high school. I had some time off for class, and I was at my friend's house, and then he says to me, "A plane has just crashed into the World Trade Center," and that was 9/11. And I wanted to go to war, and so I enlisted in the United States Marine Corps, and I had the opportunity to fight in the war on terror. The second thing that pulled me into politics was actually during my time in Afghanistan. We received rules of engagement that cost American lives. Bottom line, there weren't good rules. They were that made no sense, and that's when I realized that the people in Washington representing us, formulating these policies, really don't know what they're doing, and that I probably could do a better job. And then lastly, I was a public school teacher. First day of school, they're like, "Hey, we want you to teach kids how to read." And I'm like, "Okay, so where are my textbooks?" And then they say, "We don't have any." I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we have digital textbooks." And they're like, "No." So here I am, a brand new teacher, being told to teach kids how to read without any reading material. If there is not something that highlights bureaucratic inefficiency, fraud, waste, and abuse, that would be it right there. It was ridiculous.
Interesting. So we have this sentiment now, and Rob wanted to pull this out. There's this sentiment among some folks that politics doesn't matter. Our vote doesn't really matter. It doesn't count. Since you've been in the legislature, how much more? What do you say to those people, and how much more insight do you have into how much our votes actually matter now that you've had a term in the House?
I would say I have grown even more in my conviction that everyone matters. I would give two reasons for that. Reason number one would be that it almost amazes me how much of an open door people have to my office, our building, our proceedings, the committee meetings, debate, and how many people don't use it. And that how many people actually could shape policy if they were to read it and give us feedback. On any political item, I may get 1 to 5 really meaningful interactions with someone who didn't write a chain letter. They actually read the policy and are giving me suggestions, and we almost 100% of the time take them. So people have no clue just how much they can shape policy. The second thing I would say is I learned very quickly in my office, my time in office, that the average American would be absolutely outraged if they knew how much work could be getting done, but isn't getting done because the person they elected literally doesn't show up to work. And so that's another reason where you see that everybody's vote matters.
So I kind of want to, if this is just in addition to that question, because one of the concerns that we see is that people don't know what the actual function of government is, right? So Kim Fontenot, before getting involved in government, now having served a term and currently working, what's the difference in perception, if any, that you could share with us from being an outsider versus being an insider, to kind of help the people understand how much more involved they could be, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, so I would say, based on what you just said, there are probably two things I would highlight that kind of bring to the forefront the role of government. The first would be the reason why so many minorities are upset is that you have the governments in places like New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, New Orleans, all these liberal strongholds, telling citizens there's no money, we're bankrupt, we can't improve schools, we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't fix streets, and we're going to have to raise taxes. And then you have non-citizens get dropped off by the busload in these cities, and then each of them are being put in hotels, and some of them are given $5,000 a month stipends from that government. And there you see how local government is literally robbing citizens to give money to non-citizens, and that highlights through error what government is supposed to do, and that is for the citizenry. It is to provide general services, roads, safety, schools, medical primarily. In North Carolina, 60% of our budget, I want to say, is education and health. The other 40% is public safety, are the two biggest things that we really tackle that make a really big difference in life. And I would say, just overall, when I think about just how much good the government could accomplish if one, the elected officials actually show up and do their job, and two, the citizens actually ask for help with certain things. One of the things I love about my job is just how much good I do get to do and how much help I can give people on a regular daily basis. And I always tell her, my folks, I said, hey, I don't know what I can or can't do, but you can always ask and we can find out. And so far, we've been able to do about 98% of what people are looking for.
So we're going to talk about some of the things that you've accomplished, got done for your community in the legislature. But there's this, and my brother has been on a couple of podcasts as of late where this sentiment comes up, and I want to ask you specifically about North Carolina. And for those of you watching and listening and listen back, we don't send out questions in advance. These, this is him being honest. So you've been in the legislature. You've had an opportunity to speak on behalf of some very important issues. Go up there and work for your community. How much racism have you seen from Republicans in the legislature? How much animosity towards air finger quote minorities, people of color? How much of that have you really seen going into decision making in a way that would be negative to Black folks?
Yeah, someone actually asked me that in my office one time. It was a young Latino girl, and she said, "Well, are the Republicans racist?" And I was like, most Republicans here are business people, and about 90% of their workforce is Hispanic. I've never, not once, ever heard any racist remark from any of my colleagues. I am treated very well. I've never had any negative interactions and very highly esteemed. And the same goes for Jared Lowry, a Native American who serves along with me.
Shout out to the Lumbies.
Area where I see racism is in what I call soft bigotry, where policy is decided based on what people they say can't do. For instance, you're seeing across America math standards being lowered because they say they're racist. Well, what they're really saying is that Black kids can't do what white kids can do. That's ridiculous. Or you see discipline standards being thrown out for equity. And the argument is this is disproportionately negative on Black kids. Well, the problem with that assumption is this: can Black kids perform like every other kid? And I travel all over the nation. I talk to high schools all the time. You know what everybody says? Yes, they can. The biggest racism I see is all the things politicians say Black people can't do, like get IDs. Like that's one that is died hard. The argument was voter ID is racist because there are thousands of African Americans who don't have IDs. And when I tore that apart, my thought was like, okay, first off, why are there only African Americans without IDs? Where are the Asians without IDs? Where are Caucasians without IDs? Where are the Hispanics without IDs? How is it we have this one bastardized group of African Americans who can't get IDs? And you know what? They can get to school, they get to hospitals, they pay their bills. They're just like every other American. We produce LeBron James, Barack Obama, Denzel Washington, Vivian Thomas, and we can't produce an ID. If that's not racist, I don't know what is.
All right,
So hold up.
hold on,
Hold up. You know who put it really good? Mark Robinson put it very interesting. He was like, we could go through slavery. We could go through Jim Crow. We just can't get to that daggone DMV. We just can't figure that out.
I think that argument that the ID thing is just as bad as what Governor Hochul recently said here in New York about, there's black kids in the Bronx that don't even know what computers are. Yes. And I'm like, how do you vote for this woman? How do you do that? How did that make you feel when you saw that? Like, what went through your mind when you saw that clip?
Again, what went through my mind is like, this is ridiculous. How is it that black people are the only people, apparently, according to these liberal politicians, who are inept, who unable, and they crusade in their false social justice morality based off of a lie? I mean, you know how ridiculous it is to suppose that a black kid in New York doesn't know what a computer is? I mean, that's absurd, and it's insulting. And any African American in New York who doesn't believe that needs to wake up.
Ladies and gentlemen, right around the 15-minute mark, we are talking with Representative Ken Fontenot, North Carolina House, District 24, Wilson County, little bit of Nash going on. We're talking about politics. We are here on the Urban Conservative on a Monday night. If you haven't done so already, make sure you give us a like, follow, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. TUC Twins is the YouTube channel. You can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts, and if there's somewhere you listen to podcasts and we ain't there, let us know. We'll make that happen.
Well, don't, before you forget, let's pay some bills. Let's pay some bills real quick.
Country illegally cast a ballot. It takes the power of your vote away. Visit onlycitizens.vote to find out how you can contact your legislature and get them to pass a citizens-only voting amendment. Again, visit onlycitizens.vote and defend your right to vote.
All right, y'all. Ladies and bills paid for a moment. We got to keep the lights on for a little while longer.
Lights are still working.
So that ad actually brings up a very interesting question. So this cycle with the legislature here in North Carolina, and you mentioned, my brother mentioned, there are places in the country where you have non-citizens getting all these kind of benefits, illegal aliens. We're just going to call it what it is. North Carolina will have a constitutional amendment on our ballot this November that will make a constitutional change that says only United States citizens shall vote. And we just talked a little bit about the voter ID and the racist thing with everything going on politically right now. The North Carolina legislature trying to get ICE, sheriffs to cooperate with ICE, all this stuff going on. What do you get a sense of is going to be the most important thing going into the next, the long session for North Carolina? What do you see as like the big thing that's going to be up next?
Ooh. Well, education continues to be something that dogs our state. In particular, what's interesting about North Carolina is we have some of the world's top universities in several fields. Whether you look at NC State and their agriculture program, which is bar none, whether you look at Duke and several aspects of that, their medical program and facilities, whether you look at UNC, we have an amazing amount of intellectual capital in our colleges. And we have some of the top rated schools in the world. However, what is interesting is our public education system is in the bottom 40 to 50 of the states when it comes to education. And there are a lot of factors in that. I think one of the biggest factors is DPI is defunct and needs to be dismantled and constructed in a way that is actually supports education. Another one is our policies are terrible. For instance, we can barely long-term suspend a student or expel a student even when they give death threats. That is ridiculous. And then lastly, you would look at pay as something that's indicative. But, I always put that somewhere after policy and safety because, my greatest example of this was Chicago, Illinois. Chicago has none whatsoever money for vouchers or anything. It is completely 100% positively public schools. Okay? Washington, D.C. is another one. 100% positively all public schools. As a matter of fact, the average spending per student in Washington, D.C. is $20,000 as compared to the rest of the nation. Both are producing a high level of supposed graduates who aren't literate. And when asked why, both said the same stinking thing. We need more money. You know, this whole nonsense of money, my biggest issue is that it's often used as a cop out to excuse the lack of excellence in our public systems. And it's not a reason. It's just not. And I do think policy is, and I'm willing, I am working on that. And I do think safety is another one. And I think as we can get policy and safety in place, we'll see public education come around. You know, in particular, you think about teachers. Teachers are leaving in droves, not just because of pay. The number one reason, unanimously, is they don't feel supported. Kids are cursing them out, and they're back in the classroom. Sometimes they're being assaulted, and the kid is back in the classroom. If that is not demoralizing, I don't know what is. And so I think education will be front and center along with a couple social issues.
So I got you made me think of something, Representative Fontenot. The Duke Medical School, I don't know if you heard about this, has said, and they've come out with this thing, right? That being on time, expecting people to promptly be on time is part of white supremacy culture. This is Duke Medical School claiming this. How do we get to a point where something like you're supposed to be there at 10, and if you're not there at 10 o'clock, you're late? How is saying be on time, be prompt, be professional? How is that racist? I don't get it. And how at a place like Duke University, how do we fix that in our, in our systems here? Like, and that's across the country. We see this in academia. Like, what is that?
Well, I'd say first off, legislation, and second, lawsuit. One of the issues with Duke that we have that makes it harder to touch is they don't receive public funding. So they don't get a dime from the state of North Carolina, and they don't need it, quite frankly. So they can do things like that. However, I would say I have had faculty visit me, and there is somewhat of a civil war going on in Duke with people who don't agree with that, who are just flat out saying it. And Duke, because they don't have the subsidies of the government, treads carefully with their own people, because if they lose them, Uncle Sam's not going to be there to subsidize their loss, like a lot of our state institutions that are way more brazen in their error. UNC was an area where we saw these things, like where UNC came out and said that it was racist to expect minority students to be able to learn from lectures. Well, I flipped that, and what they're saying is that black people can't learn auditorily. Excuse me?
We can't listen.
That's got to be the biggest joke and insult I've ever heard, but everybody else can, right? Thankfully, we have passed legislation. We have seen meaningful reform within our state college system. DEI is dismantled. It is gone. And we are making sure we get every vestige of it out there. So I would say, when it comes to Duke, places like that are private, there's a different way to fight that battle. But when it comes to our public institutions, we are on the ball, and they know it.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, we are kicking it with Representative Ken Fontenot here on the Urban Conservative. It's a Monday night podcast. As always, we're going to switch gears here a little bit because you are now up for re-election. One of the things that I noticed because we pay attention across the whole state, one of the things I noticed is you have this, weekly column that you write. And I'm noticing there's Democrats, even though you're a Republican, there's a lot of Democrats who have written and, posted on social media about how much they appreciate your representation. Talk a little bit about your philosophy of reaching across the aisle and making sure that you're representing all of the people, not just the conservative ones, not just the Republican ones. But as you're up for re-election, how important is that to you to be able to represent all of your constituency?
Yeah, I would say philosophically, it's a very simple shift. And I'll start off with the wrong philosophy. The wrong philosophy is I know what we disagree on, and I'm going to focus on what we disagree on. That has got to be the dumbest approach to working together I've ever heard. A better philosophy is let's find what we agree on and get it done. And that is where I believe I've been able to make a lot of inroads, in my county, which is a Democratic county. Some people would say, well, maybe it's your policy. No, actually, my policy is pretty super conservative from beginning to end. And I rate it pretty high in all the conservative ratings out there. What it is I'm willing to sit down literally with anyone who wants my time. I will buy them coffee. I will buy them lunch. I don't care what they call themselves. And I will listen to what they would like to talk about. And the next thing that I do is I find solutions we can both agree on. Because, policy, when discussed in TV, we discuss it in sweeping movements where this one thing is going to solve everything. And that is just not reality. The truth is, there's probably like 100 moving parts to any issue. And what you can do is find the moving parts that you both agree on. For instance, a lot of the liberal educators I work with completely agree when it comes to discipline. They agree when it comes to policy. They agree when it comes to textbooks. We're never going to agree on school vouchers, but there are a whole lot of other things we can agree on. Like I was able to get like close to $40 million in school safety initiatives in this past legislative period. Why? We agree on school safety. And so I say it's kind of like marriage. A good marriage is going to work because you're going to focus on what you agree on, not on what you disagree on. And that's kind of what's helped me to get that support and even have a group behind me called Democrats for Ken.
Nice. So real quick, I didn't tell you I was going to do this, but there was last year, there was a bill that was passed against, and I was at a meeting, Representative, where it was the chief of police of Concord was there, and then there was these Black community advocates, if you know what I'm talking about, right? And I'm sitting there with the bill pulled up on my phone, right? And I got it right there, and there's a question and answer period, and I'm listening to them and a certain House rep talk about how racist this anti-rioting bill was, and how. So what I did was I asked a simple question. I said, how many of y'all read the bill? And they were looking at each other like, and I said, okay, let me ask you a question. How many times does the word Black appear in the bill? And there was a speech that you gave on the floor of the North Carolina House. And for a moment here, I want to take a moment out for the folks that are at home, the folks that are watching. This is what representation actually looks like. Y'all take a listen to this.
Outside Chicago, as the son of a migrant family from central Louisiana, I grew up primarily low income with other minorities. Currently, my district is primarily filled with low income African American minorities. When I think of this bill and who it protects, what sometimes disturbs me when I hear public discourse is we lose sight of the people who will benefit from certain policy. For instance, one of the most disheartening comments I received from one of my constituents is, Mr. Fontenot, why should I start a business when the next riot happens? It's going to be burned, looted, and my livelihood will be gone. What kind of response could I give that? What disturbs me about the rioting that we saw in my area in Wilson was my sheriff, Calvin Woodard, the first Black Democratic sheriff, had people throw bottles at him when he stood up for what was right. My mayor, Carlton Stevens, the first Democratic mayor, had people attempt to assault him when he did what was right. Our downtown, Nash Street, an African-American owned district, glass covered the floors, fire covered the areas, bricks were prepared to hurt law-abiding citizens. What I appreciate about this bill is that it protects low-income African Americans. When you look across the nation at where these riots took place, Los Angeles, Chicago, Minneapolis, Black neighborhoods were the neighborhoods that were hurt. African Americans are the ones who foot the bill, not lawyers. And therefore, I look at this bill as necessary to protect the most vulnerable population, the population that cannot go to court because of money, the population who sometimes will never know the windfall of a super phenomenal wealth increase. It's a reality we must fight for. And things like this, where we are not protected by our current laws, only serve to endanger my people. Therefore, I support this bill because it protects who it should, and those that denigrate the hard work ethic of sweat, blood, and tears of our forefathers who come to build up a neighborhood so that our children can be safe, so that education can thrive, that economy can go forward. Those are the people that we should support. For those that would like to destroy it in the midst of bloodlust and chaos, may they not be protected. May they discover the full force of a law-abiding country where people that are working hard are rewarded and those that are destructive are imprisoned. I support this bill.
Yeah, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. Whew. Okay. That's I don't know, Ra, where you was that not the truth, bro?
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't even the truth. That was the truth. TRUUF. Truth.
Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, for those watching at home, for those who may not be in North Carolina, that is what you should be getting from your representation. And I say that to say that you pointed out that you're working and have a Democrat sheriff, a Democrat mayor, and they are trying to do the right thing. So I just wanted you to know that that was one of the most riveting for me and poignant and powerful speeches I've heard in the years I've been listening to speeches on the North Carolina floor. And that impacted me a lot. So thank you for doing that and standing up for what's right. But ladies and gentlemen, as we near the tail end of this, it is time. You know what it is. It is time for the lightning round so that you can get the floor and plug what you got to plug. Raheem's got the lightning round ready for you, Representative Fontenot. Let's go.
Are you ready, sir?
I am.
All right, here we go. Apple or Samsung?
Oh, Apple.
Okay. Coca-Cola or Pepsi?
Coke.
Amazon or eBay?
Amazon.
Netflix or Hulu?
Netflix.
Okay. Sony or Bose?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna go Bose on that one.
Yeah, my man. Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Oh man, that's a tie. I gotta go. I do both.
No problem. All right. Bojangles or Cookout?
Oh, Bojangles. Yeah.
Okay. Harris Teeter or Food Lion?
Food Lion.
Okay. Snapdragon or Blue Ridge Parkway?
Blue Ridge Parkway. Yeah.
Okay. Two more. Old Navy or Belk?
Definitely not Old Navy. Belk.
Okay. All right. Krispy Kreme or Duck Donuts?
Ooh. All right, I gotta go with Duck Donuts on that one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And last but not least, Cheerwine or Sundrop?
Those are sodas? I believe.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that one is.
Okay, there you go. There's your answer. Well, Representative Fontenot, you've won the lightning round. Sir, the floor is yours. Take the next amount of time that you need. Plug your campaign. Let everybody know what they need to know. The floor is yours.
Absolutely. Well, first off, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Also, thank you to the Urban Conservative Twins for having me on the podcast. I always enjoy my time here. And I just want to say to everyone, what you're doing matters. And you can have change. And if you get involved, change can come more swiftly than you think, but it's going to take work, commitment, and consistency. And that is what I've been working at in my community. I'm the primary sponsor on about 20 bills or so. I brought in $77 million to my community, a lot of that going to distressed communities where we are seeing turnaround with the most vulnerable population, and that is our at-risk youth. And it happened because people like you voted for someone like me, and we do this together. And also it happened because you donated to campaigns like mine. So I would just encourage you to support Fontenot for House. Our address is fontenotforhouse.com. For those that are old school and like mailing things, you can mail it to 5904 Nobleman Court, Elm City, North Carolina, 27822. But we need your help to get there. I would say the liberal left would like nothing more than to keep minorities in chains on the government plantations where we are dependent on their petulant handouts. But we are changing that narrative, and we are empowering you to work for yourself, to have what you need, and to have the dignity and respect you deserve by being able to choose your child's education, have a job that you can live on, and not only that, be in a community that's safe. Those are the things we can accomplish. If we work together, we will. I have no doubt of that.
Excellent. Well, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, I got to plug this for the good representative. It is going down to Tuesday, the 23rd at noon. That is tomorrow. If you are in the Raleigh area, Kevin McCain would like to invite you to a reception for Representative Fontenot. I see you got the big hitters coming out. Majority Leader John Bell, Roos Chairman Destin Hall, Deputy Majority Leader Brendan Jones, and Deputy Conference Chair Matthew Winslow. It's going down at Tobacco Road Sports Cafe, 505 West Jones Street in Raleigh. You can visit the Urban Conservative to get your tickets to that. We got a link up on our website for that. So again, if you're in the Raleigh area, please come out, support Representative Fontenot. Again, the website, Fontenot for House. Representative, we want to just tell you again, we really appreciate you being here with us. We know time is the one thing you do not get more of in this life. So for you taking a little bit of yours to spend with us and our audience here on the Urban Conservative, we are eternally grateful. To our friends that are watching, make sure you rock with us tomorrow morning for Top of the Morning right here on the Urban Conservative each and every Monday night, 8 p.m. for the Urban Conservative podcast. Like, share, follow, subscribe, do all that good stuff. UrbanTUConservative.com is the website. For my twin brother, no other, from the same mother, Raheem.
Sir.
I'm Abdul Ali. This has been the Urban Conservative Podcast. Y'all have a blessed evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Front the opioid crisis, but it turns out that was just another broken campaign promise. Here's what really happened under Stein's leadership. Drug overdose deaths in North Carolina have more than doubled. In 2021, 4,041 people in North Carolina lost their lives to overdoses, the highest number of overdose deaths in a single year ever in North Carolina. And fentanyl overdose deaths have increased more than 650%. Stein